Yes, guys, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning. It's 10:32. We are a little bit late, but we're earlier than usual, if you know what I mean. I hope you guys don't mind a little bit of early morning. You're going to see a Sean Butler that's only drinking orange squash today because it's that early. It's that early. You know, it's not even midday yet. Guys, please do smash a like button as you come in. We appreciate any of the support you can give us. Like buttons are so important to help the channel grow, so, as are subscribers. So please do that as well if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment or two. Let us know your thoughts on today's, it's sort of a bit of a premature a review of the weekend because we haven't finished the weekend fixtures yet. But we're going to go through that. We're going to go through some of the midweek preview as well. And we've got some stories for you, transfer news, views and clues. Some interesting ones out in the Tottenham zeitgeist this morning. Very interesting, Johnny. I don't know if you've seen that yet. But guys, please do get onto the podcast formats as well, where you can find us by going into the description or just typing in Football Inc. wherever you walk the wife on whatever your podcast platform of choice is, and smash a follow over there. Johnny, how you doing, my man?
All good. Interesting day's football yesterday. Rodri's back for Manchester City. Haaland doing what Haaland does. It's just a question, which is today's show, the basis of today's show. Have any of Chelsea, Manchester City and Liverpool got anything to trouble a very, very strong Arsenal team who, despite having loads of injuries, don't even look like they're even phased? They are literally in a canter, haven't got out of first gear yet. So it's going to be an interesting one. My fantasy NFL team let me down last night. Very bad. One of my worst performances this season. And my fantasy football team wasn't much better.
Just quickly on that, did you see Erling Haaland in his post-match press conference? So we talk about Jed Spence and Mickey van der Ven storming off and having words or whatever. Erling Haaland was asked by the female presenter, you were on 2 goals. This is about the 4 millionth time in your career at Manchester City that you've been substituted on 2 goals. Would you have liked to have stayed on? And do you think if you had done, you would have got your hat trick? And his response was brilliant. He goes, yes, I would have liked to have stayed on. Yes, I did think I would have got a hat trick. You'll have to ask Pep Guardiola why he took me off. I think there's a lot of Premier fantasy managers that are very annoyed with that decision. I'm paraphrasing the exact phrase, but that's basically the gist of it. Yeah.
There is a guy, there was a guy who 100% believed in his ability.
Yeah.
He has just an air of authority on the pitch.
Yeah. And an alpha footballer, isn't he?
Yeah. Total belief that when he gets on the chance, he's going to score. I thought Bournemouth actually played well yesterday. I know they lost 3-1, but Bournemouth are a very, very good team. He's got them really playing well. And the fact that, they don't have Europe and they don't, the cups and what have you, they could maintain this with 1 game a week. They could there's a possibility they could make one of the European places. Definitely think it's possible. What are your thoughts?
100%. I expect them to be fighting between 5th and 8th for this season. And I think you're right. I think a lot of the people that are, again, not to make this about Tottenham centric, but just because we're in that kind of social environment more, the community talks a lot more about Tottenham. You hear the people that are on the sort of defensive side of the performances and what can be achieved realistically this season. And then they compare them to the other teams around us that are doing well. Teams like Sunderland. I mean, I don't expect Sunderland to continue. I think they'll, when they lose half their team to the African Cup of Nations, I think they'll struggle. But teams like United, teams like Bournemouth, I think you really can't understate the value gap in what is possible for a new manager or for a team in transition or for a team that has, that's progressing and doing well. the abilities to train, the abilities to have fewer match minutes in the legs of the players come the second half of the season, let alone the first half, and just the ability to avoid injuries, be able to do more on the way in tactics and all those sorts of things, team cohesiveness. Teams like Bournemouth and United have got a massive advantage in that regard over teams like Tottenham and teams like Chelsea and teams like the other teams that are in Europe.
The thing is that he's a top coach. He's created stars. I mean, he created a star out of Solanke who hasn't looked anywhere near the same player since he's arrived at us. You look at Huijsen, you look at Zabani, Huijsen to Real Madrid, Zabani PSG, Kirkes to Liverpool. You look at the players that didn't go, Semenya, Kluivert, and the one who doesn't get, I've mentioned him quite a few times on here, Sean, who I think is really good, is Brooks. He's such a lovely player, mate.
He really is, and he recovered from cancer as well. What a story that is.
It's an unbelievable story, but he's just magic on the ball. Spurs don't have a player who creates like that currently in that's fit. He's a really clever little player, and I'm amazed that he doesn't get more coverage, more plaudits. I suppose he's just surrounded by sort of bigger name players, but
also I think his name's Brooks, right? Dan Brooks. If it was Brooksini or Brucini, so I don't know what that's so weird, isn't it? It's the same with some of the players we'll talk about today. I think one of the names, Jared Brandthwaite. There's lots of players. Scott McTominay. If he was Scott McTominay, he'd be a player that everyone would want from Napoli. But because he's never got
the credit. There's a prime example of a misfiring Manchester United team. Scott McTominay was scoring goals, but still got absolutely zero credit for it. Yeah. Doing it for Scotland, he goes out to Napoli and becomes a star. Serie A Player of the Year. And, he's like a legend in Napoli, still scoring goals. Sometimes you got to go away to become something, Look at Rashford. Look at McTominay. Look at Haaland. Sometimes that's what you've got to do. But
just quickly, Johnny, whilst we're talking about the transfers there, and we're talking about Italian football, and you talk about Scott McTominay being underrated or underappreciated, I should say, at Manchester United, goes to Napoli. There's another player. We are going to talk about Arsenal and their dominance. We're going to come back to that story in a minute, and we've got the review and the preview and everything else to go through as well. But just quickly on the transfer news front, from a Tottenham's perspective, there's a really interesting one today that's coming out of Sky Sports Switzerland from Sasha Tavalieri.
Yeah.
And it's about Jonathan David, and that he's been offered, his representatives have offered him to Tottenham and to Bayern Munich. And this is a player that you and I spoke about for a long time, like for years. We've spoken about him. I was never that impressed with his overall game until last season. He's always banged in the numbers, always done it at Lille. 20 goals a season. Champions League numbers have been very good. Europa League, Canada, etc. He's always done it, right? He goes to Juve. He can barely get in the team. He's getting a few minutes here and there. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist in 11 games. Kept out of the team by Dusan Vlahovic, a player that Juve wanted to get rid of.
Yes,
and now Juve are open to selling him. And I think maybe the argument is they only signed him on a free transfer because it was a way to liquidate him pretty soon afterwards to get some money out, to raise some money.
100%, that's what it's about. They saw an opportunity to buy and sell, mate. I honestly, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. They've sacked the manager, right? And Spalletti's come in, and he doesn't fit Spalletti's module, obviously. And maybe Spalletti said, "Look, mate, get rid of him, get some money in." And
keep Vlahovic.
Keep Vlahovic. Maybe Spalletti is Spalletti's bag. Let's be honest. He was the hottest ticket in in European football, probably at the time when he was playing for Fiorentina, and suddenly, he goes to Juve, can't hit a goal, but it happens so often. Look
His
at
numbers
Xavi
weren't
Simons.
horrendous though. I think he got a goal or an assist every other game.
No, but before he went, while he was at Fiorentina,
when he was at Fiorentina, he was insane. Yeah, he was brilliant. Yeah,
and he was doing it in the Serie A. He was doing it against all the big teams. But sometimes, players move and it just does not happen. Look at Florian Wirtz, look at Xavi Simons. Sometimes it just does not work.
But is there a chance? The reason I brought that up is because of, like, we're talking about Scott McTominay, the transition from being a good player that's underrated, underappreciated at the Premier League level, goes to Napoli, smashes it out of the bag, maybe because the standard, the time that they have in Italy is a little bit more on the ball. It's a different pace of a game. It's a different style of football. And like, you look at maybe players like Harry Kane that were world-class at Tottenham, but no one really realised quite how world-class he was outside of the Premier League. He goes to Bayern Munich. Suddenly you're seeing all the international fans going, Harry Kane is the best player in the world's ever seen or whatever. Because, to him, it's like I'm going from a place where I was unbelievable to an easier level, an easier settings. Like, it's like dialing down from, like,
it's not
pro mode to amateur mode on football, FA 26 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's definitely an easier level. I mean, he's like walking through the game in Germany. And as we've seen, Florian Wirtz come from Germany, struggled. I mean, it's weird, and then you look at someone like Paulinho, who was sensational for Fulham in the Premier League and before he came. He's gone to Germany, didn't happen, but yet he's come back like he's never been away.
Yeah. Weird, isn't it? Weird how that works.
It is strange. But physicality is something that's so important now in the Premier League. And, we spoke about it yesterday. There's a huge difference between feisty and physically strong, and I feel like Xavi Simons at the moment, he's feisty, likes to get stuck in, doesn't shirk from a tackle, but he's too easily pushed off the ball. Same with Florian Wirtz. Voltemade, obviously, he's got his physical presence. For me, Ekitike is the one that looks the most promising of the German imports. But yeah, I mean, look.
Is there any concerns that Jonathan David?
I'd take him in a flash, Sean.
Oh, so would I, 100%. But you have to ask the question. Smashes it. I guess the thing that nullifies the argument that he was just a flat track bully in France is that he's done it at the Champions League level against top European teams, right?
Correct.
So,
correct.
And doing it for Lille as well. But he's gone to Juve. He's been kept out of the team. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist, and 11. So his ratios look poor. But as I say, if you look at the actual minutes he's played, he's not played anywhere near as many minutes as 11 games suggests. His goal goal and assist ratio on a per minutes basis is much better than on a per game basis. Basically,
listen, look, I've been waxing lyrical about Jonathan David for quite a while. People were saying he's not going to do it, and then of course last year, people's opinions changed because the numbers.
He improved his game, I think, last year though. The version of him 2 or 3 years ago, he didn't really press. He didn't really. He was sort of a bit, I wouldn't say lazy, but he just wasn't as mobile, wasn't as aggressive, wasn't as hardworking. But the version of him that I saw last year was, okay, he's improved in that regard, right? And he's more competent on his left foot than he was previously. Before he was very good in the air and with his right foot. Now he's like he's got power with all 3 triggers, and so I changed my opinion on him a little bit. But I take him in a heartbeat. But I just find it interesting that Juve would buy him and then on a free and then.
I think he's a flip. But I mean, for me, I love a player like that. There was something in him I saw straight away. Harry Kane was never Harry Kane. Harry Kane has developed himself into Harry Kane. He was Harry Kane, the name, but he was not born Harry Kane, the world-class footballer. Harry Kane developed himself into become a world-class footballer by constantly staying behind after training, constantly working on his game. When Spurs lost Christian Eriksen and we didn't have a 10, any creative midfielder, typical Spurs, we didn't replace a player we really needed to replace. He developed his game, started dropping deep and spraying passes 20 yards across the pitch. That wasn't in his game before because it didn't need to be in his game, but he took it upon himself. And that's the mark of a top player. And as you say, with Jonathan David, he didn't have a lot of these attributes. He had raw attributes. Same Brian Mbeumo. When I saw Brian Mbeumo first come to Brentford, he was raw. He had the attributes, but he didn't have the finesse. And by working on himself, he's now turned into what he is at the moment for Man United and Brentford. So we shall see. Yeah. We shall see. They're talking about Modric a lot in the chat there. Incredible. What an unbelievable signing. I mean, the funny thing is, football fans are the first to, turn around and say, absolute shocking player. Should never have signed him. Modric is the prime example of that, as we've discussed before. When he signed for Real Madrid at the end of that season, they voted him the worst signing in Real Madrid's history, Luka Modric. I mean, how ridiculous does that look now?
Yeah.
40 years of age and still strutting his stuff. Incredible.
Yeah, if you talk about impatient fan bases around the world, and Tottenham are accused of being up there, I think Real Madrid is probably the pinnacle of impatience, But I guess they have a track record of being able to demand success because of the environment in which they operate. But yeah, they were wrong about Modric. I think they were wrong about Gareth Bale as well initially, weren't they? Didn't they? They fight Gareth Bale for a while.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be honest, right? He got so much shit at Gareth Bale, and he just kept turning up. All I think about when I think of Gareth Bale in Real Madrid is that overhead kick.
Yeah,
the Champions League final.
Oh, I think about the one where he kicks it and then runs off the pitch and runs around the player. Yeah. Unbelievable! Like going down the hard shoulder.
I mean, if only we had a player like that now.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have. We've gone from Bale, Kane, and Son, to meh.
Getting it all wrong.
Meh. Yeah. It ain't great, mate. Ain't great.
Good morning to Clayton Meeks from Atlanta, Georgia. It must be 10-6 in the morning over there, mate. Or 10 to... I'm not sure what the daylight saving. I think we're in a 2-week period where it's only 4 hours different.
We love our American brothers, man.
Yeah, big up to you. Big up to all of you guys. Please do smash the like button and hit the subscribe. Johnny, let's talk. We've got more transfer stories to come back to, but let's take a quick pivot to this Arsenal story. Look, Manchester City were the better team yesterday. Right, they were very, very good, and Liverpool also very, very impressive. Back to winning ways. Salah. This was Saturday night, obviously. Salah back to scoring 2 on the bounce now. Just as I take him out of my fantasy team, typical. But I guess the question mark is not so much around can City and Liverpool get back into winning ways consistently? I'm sure they can. But it begs the question, right? Just how easy Arsenal are looking. They're consummate ease. They're barely conceding a shot on goal, let alone a shot on target or a goal concession. And they have an ability to just go to places and just win, and at home, even if they're struggling against the low block. They have the plan A, which is good football. They have the plan B if they turn to it, which is set pieces. And I just wonder whether a 5-6 point gap with 10 games gone, I mean, dare I say it? Is it is it difficult to see them dropping points? If you look at their fixtures coming up, I think Man City and Liverpool fans probably have to hope that they look at Tottenham and think, can Tottenham get something? Can Tottenham kind of just nick a draw? Because other than that, I don't know where Arsenal are dropping points until they go to City in early December.
Look. I tipped Arsenal last season and they got it wrong. But I just can't see it. I've said it right from the off. The strength in depth that Arsenal possess is just frightening. Even when you look at the injuries they have now to Havertz, Noni, to what's the guard? Their captain is gone. He's out. They just have so many options. Declan Rice at the moment is just absolutely sublime. He's absolutely sublime. And even if you take Declan Rice out, you've still got that brilliant double pivot between Zubimendi and Marino that was there at Real Sociedad. I mean, that is forward planning by Arsenal. This team hasn't been built in a minute. It hasn't been built over a year. This has been built over 5 years. For me as a Spurs fan, it was heartbreaking that the two players that I've wanted for such a long time, Eze and Hincapié, both went to Arsenal within the space of a week.
Yeah.
And, they are top players. I mean, Hincapié can't even get in the team. He can't get in. We'll bring you in for the cup games. He would probably have a very good chance of starting for Spurs in the left-back position. He's that good.
Hincapié, all day long he starts at Tottenham.
Yeah.
All day long.
And, when you look at the partnership, Gabriel, forget his defensive capabilities. Offensively, he just wins every ball in those set pieces. I think he scored more goals than anyone as a centre-back. And then you look at the wing backs. Ben White can't get in the game. You've got Calafiori. The options are just insane. Insane. Yeah. And Gyökeres, look, you can pull Gyökeres apart, but he's like a battleship up there. He's creating space. The only player right now who's probably not firing on all cylinders, and they're not even missing it, is Saka. He's not Saka that we saw just before the injury.
Correct.
But I just don't see a weakness.
But again, I think that this is just this shift, mate. This shift. I keep talking about it on every show I'm doing, and I think I'm getting bored of hearing myself say it. But I genuinely do think that there is this pivot right now in the Premier League to a very boring state of the game, where technicality, small tricky players are not being rewarded with the vision of the footballing methodology that's being employed, because it's pivoting towards athleticism, strength, size, and you huff and puff and blow the doors down with set pieces if you have to, because I think that the supremacy teams that are sort of fighting in amongst the kind of bottom of the table to about 6th, they all have improved their ability to do low block football and to force technical teams into horseshoes at a higher frequency than the teams that are technical are able to break it down. And so they pivot to, okay, if we can't break you down, we'll have to go to a plan B. And so teams that have got this supremacy and that physical stature, they're naturally going to do better whilst the game is being played more and more in this vision. And I was having this chat last night on Football's 12th Man, Dan Potts' show, with a couple of Arsenal fans and West Ham fans and a Chelsea fan. And we were having this debate about whether football's getting boring from the sluggishness of the set piece times for long throw-ins and all that stuff. And one of the arguments was well, it's just the way you have to go to win the game. And my argument was I understand why Arsenal, given that they've been building for 5 years, Johnny, I understand why their fans would tolerate boring set piece FC stuff, because it's a means to an end, right? But for the rest of the teams in the Premier League, outside of the big 5 that win 90% of football, for the most part, maybe this season's a little bit different, but the jeopardy of relegation is near non-existent. This year it's a little bit different, but for the most part, it's become non-existent. So if you're not really going to if you're not likely to win a trophy anyway, and you're not really going to get relegated, then should fans be okay with this? Well, it's elite sports. Do what you've got to do to win. 1-0 set piece, and then park the bus FC. All that stuff. Is that really acceptable? Well, is that the reason why so many home fans boo their teams when the performances are shit?
Look. I just for clarity here, right? I'm waxing lyrical about Arsenal winning the title and their strength. I hate Arsenal. Okay, let's just get that right.
Of course, yeah.
I hate Arsenal. What I'm saying is that I can't see any weakness in their team. Look, I don't like the football. We seem to have gone back to the 70s football. It's long ball, long throw-ins, brutality. it seems to be that Arsenal are quite content, score the first goal, a set piece, and quite happy. We'll win 1-0. You want to come out at us, right? We can destroy you, right? So that's all it is. They're sitting there. It's not attractive football. It's not expansive football. What I enjoyed yesterday, if anyone who watched the Man City game, that first half, we saw some beautiful interplay between Ryan Cherky, Haaland, and the likes. And it was really, that's the football I want to watch. The Liverpool of last season, where their breakaway, their pace, with Jota, God rest him, and Salah and the likes, that's the football I want to see. But there has been paragon shift to this sort of, we don't want to lose.
Setupnottolose.com. Yeah.
Look up shop. I mean, I don't know whether it's a counterweight to the low block, because so many teams that come up play a low block against the big teams. I've never seen as many long balls, Sean, as I have.
But you talk about the Man City game yesterday. Like it was a really nice game. The first half was great to watch. But the reason why is because Bournemouth went there with a devil-may-care approach, right? Yeah. They're like, no, we're going to play our ball, our version of football. And it was great for the neutral. First decent game of football that I've seen. The last good game of football I saw was the Crystal Palace game a couple of weeks ago, 3-2.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
That was a good game as well, right?
Yeah.
But most games of football now are one team knocking on the door, the other team, sort of holding it shut, like there's a robbery going on. And it's not enjoyable for the neutral, and it's not enjoyable for the home fans. Bournemouth, though, to their credit, went for it, but ultimately got picked off. And probably you could make the argument was a bit naive of Iriola to go to Manchester City and play that way.
Well,
so what's the solution? Do you placate the fans and play a version of football?
No. Listen, I think last year, if you look, do you remember Arsenal were playing attacking football? They went to play Manchester City and tried to negate them. They did the opposite of what everyone was expecting. We thought we were going to have all-out attack, and he went for a low block, and it didn't pay off. That cost them the title in the end. He went defensively, and it didn't work for him. And I think, he probably thought it's going to be a tough ask to beat Manchester City. I think they've only ever got a point there in their existence under Harry Redknapp once upon a time. No, I think they went there, and let's be honest, they had chances. They had chances to score. They only scored through a mistake. But hey ho, look, I love Iriola. I like Glasner, and listen, I like Thomas Frank. But unfortunately, I think everybody's going to struggle with the setup that we've got. Yeah, you're playing 3 games a week. If Iriola and Glasner had 3 games a week at this level, the Champions League level, I think they'd also struggle. It's not easy.
So do you think then that teams? I mentioned this as well on the video I did just before we came live. I feel like players like Jean-Philippe Mateta.
Cool. Yeah.
What a player, right? Although you could make the argument, either a Johnny come lately, a late bloomer, or it's either a late bloomer that's a really good player, or a one-hit wonder that someone's going to overpay massively for, like we maybe did with Solanke or whatever else. But the question, I guess, is when you look at him as a player, he ticks all of those boxes that is moving into that trend of football. He is super fast. He's super strong. He's super aggressive. He's very talented. He's got technical skills, can hold the ball up. All of the things that would suit this model of football. But you might be signing a player, with the risk of, has he just had a good couple of seasons or whatever? Or even if you're not, is his physicality a short-term trend? Like the pendulum always moves away. As soon as something gets overboard in one direction, the game will shift. Some creative, innovative manager will create some sort of counteract, some sort of counterbalance for the boring horseshoe technical, set piece FC nonsense that we're seeing at the moment. And then it will move in a different direction. And then you might be signing players to 3, 4, 5 year contracts that fit a model for a time, but then suddenly the model's out of date and out of use, and therefore the player is too.
Look, I remember Palace were looking to sell Mateta because he just was not cutting the mustard. And, you know, Ismail Sarr, look at the journeyman career. I thought at Watford he was going to be the next big thing, and then suddenly lost his way. You look at Will Hughes. I thought he was going to be he had a serious injury, came through at Derby, and I thought another player that was going to be a really good player. When you get a manager that understands, you know, players' talent and how to get the most out of it, it makes a huge difference. And I think that's where Oliver Glasner has come in. I mean, I'll give you an example. I'm going to flit across here, but Rangers manager who was at Southampton, what's his name now? I've forgotten his name now.
I don't know.
Oh, flipping
the current Rangers manager? No,
the one that just got sacked. I've had brain lapse. He was at Southampton, refused to change. He got sacked.
Oh, I know what you mean.
It'll come to me.
Russell Martin.
Russell Martin, right. So Russell Martin goes to Rangers and he plays Mikey Moore in a completely wrong position, right? And he gets absolutely caned, the player, right? Not the manager, the player. Danny Röhl comes in. He's already done his research on Mikey Moore. And he brought him on yesterday, playing in the right position. And he had a fantastic cameo performance yesterday, right? Now, he's still the same player, but it's about understanding what each player's strengths are. And trying to, you know, to bring them to the fore. And I think Oliver Glasner has done that brilliantly. And I think Iriola has done that brilliantly. And Thomas Frank has historically done that brilliantly, although we can't see any of that currently at Spurs. But can you do that in 10 games? 13?
No, of course you can't. Of course you can't. And I think this is like, you know, like when you start to, this is the problem as a content creator. And I think anyone that's watching, I know Saba's watching, big up to you, mate. We'll redirect over to you if you're starting the show later on, mate. As soon as we're finished. The reality is, mate, is that you need to give opinions immediately after something that's happened. You immediately your knee-jerk reaction is to be angry if something bad happens, or positive if something good happens. But then over time, you're letting it sort of mesh in your mind around what is the reality of the situation. And I genuinely think that Thomas Frank with Tottenham, it's a very unique and rare sort of specific environment at Tottenham, where you have a fan base that demands attractive football. You have a fan base that is incredibly impatient, a fan base that for the most part turned on Ange when he was what they asked for with regards to attractive football. Yes, he was Bonnie Blue football. Yes, we're now playing Mother Teresa ball. And so there's that kind of like the pendulum has swung too far in the other direction. But when the natural environment of other teams is also going in a certain way, if you were to be a little bit more gung ho, not Ange gung ho, but a little bit more balanced, but just a little bit more, because you can't be tight at the back and brilliant up front with the squad that we have. You know, you need not just 3 new additions to be able to do better. You need probably like 7 or 8 new additions to be able to do more of what Arsenal try to do or City try to do, which is keep it tight, but also be a little bit caution to the wind. And so even if Thomas Frank was to throw a little bit more risk into the mix, when other teams are playing the way that they are, they probably they would love to play against Tottenham, throwing a bit more caution to the wind, because then you get picked off. And so, like, if everybody else isn't doing it that way either, and they're hoping that you and other teams play like Bournemouth did yesterday, and then City go, fucking brilliant, right? We just put it over the top to Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland's a genius at just cutting out the defender, going around the keeper, 2-0, game over. The reality is that I think Thomas Frank is, the more I think about it, I'm frustrated. I can't help but be frustrated. But at the same time, I feel like his hands are tied a little bit by his own tactics. I think that the tactics of the game have moved in a direction that fans haven't really appreciated yet.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I wonder whether or not, you know, if you just took Ange Postecoglou's team tactic and added a set piece defence and set piece attack, Sean, adding those two elements, we might be better. But we have no James Maddison, we have no Solanke, we have no Kulu. There's too many elements, and we got a misfiring Xavi Simons that looked like he's been shipped in from another dimension. He just doesn't.
But could you make the argument, Johnny, that we're all sitting there expecting that we would be much better if we had James Maddison? But does James Maddison really represent the value add that you need for this style of football? I think Decky does.
No, he's got past. We got no one. Now, hang on. Right, we don't have. Most top teams have one or two creative midfielders, and I'm talking about creative midfielders. Right now, we don't have one. We don't have one. There's not one. We do not have one creative midfielder in that team, in my opinion.
We do. He's just not. He just hasn't hit the ground running yet.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's nowhere near hitting the ground running. I haven't seen like balls through. I saw Ryan Cherky come on, put balls through already. I'm just not seeing it. Anyway, it's listen. I see there's a few Rangers and Celtic fans in the chat here. Celtic yesterday, Martin O'Neill did a fantastic job. Amazing. He protested too much. Was he 72, 73? Doesn't want the job permanently? I think he does. I think he does. And what a great story for someone like him to come back from a pundit, 10-minute story to come in. But it was a great game yesterday, marred by an unfortunate sending off. He went in for a ball, chest high, red card. Could have been levelled up. But all those Celtic fans have said that Mikey Moore didn't have a good cameo. Need to go back and watch it because
was he okay? Was he?
He did. He certainly did have a good cameo. Came in, put a beautiful ball in straight after he came on, and hopefully under Danny Rowell he'll start to improve. But so what do we think, Sean? Are we with the fixture list that Manchester City have got and the fixture list that Arsenal have got, do you think you can see Arsenal extending that lead?
Let's have a look. Let's get it up. I can't see Arsenal losing a game of football at the moment. You have to concede chances to obviously concede goals. Obviously, sometimes they struggle to break the teams down, but I think that, as I say, for Arsenal fans, you'd have to be very, very unique in the Arsenal fan base to be moaning around the style of football when they've been begging for silverware for so long and they've got themselves a little lead here that whatever's necessary to get the job done. I don't necessarily think that same argument is reasonable for every team that doesn't have a chance realistically of winning anything. If you look at Arsenal's fixtures though coming up, they have
tough one at the weekend.
So they've got Slavia Prague tomorrow, earlier game, 5:45.
Yeah, always, mate, for them, right? We play Wednesday night, they'll play or whatever. Yeah.
And then they've got Sunderland at 5:30. So they've got a huge turnaround time there. So they'll be fine. Sunderland away is a difficult one, right? But
would you love to see that?
Yeah, listen. If Arsenal can, isn't it crazy that we're sitting there looking at Sunderland as the most realistic place for Arsenal to drop points? A newly promoted team, but they are a team that's physical, that's strong, that's really well set up under that manager whose name I can never remember.
Who would like to prove a point, Sean?
What's that?
Who would like to prove a point in that game?
Oh, Granit Xhaka, of course, yeah, 100%.
He's been absolutely superb.
And they've got players that can hurt them on the break. That Chemsdean Talby, I mean, what a player he is, for ex-Bruges player. If Arsenal throw too much caution to the wind, if they one of the tactics that Sunderland could employ is do a little bit of what Monaco did against us from set pieces, which was leave two men up and take a little bit more risk from the set piece situation. But if the keeper can come and claim it, then they can break quickly, and then you've got fast players on the counter. It will be a very interesting game Saturday night. But apart from that, then they've got the break for a couple of weeks.
Look at the Sunday game, mate. Look at Sunday's game. Sunday's game is Man City, Liverpool. Arsenal are going to be extending the lead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Who do you vote for in that scenario? Do you want one team to win over another, or do you want a draw so that neither? I mean, I don't think you want a draw. If you're someone that doesn't want Arsenal to win the league, then who do you vote? Who do you want to win in the City?
Man
Huh?
City.
Man City, yeah.
Yeah, I think Man City. I think Liverpool, as I said right from the beginning, before the season started, Liverpool do not have a good enough defence to sustain a title challenge. Nowhere near. Nowhere near.
Any chance at all that Arsenal look at the games straight after the international break, and then they've got Tottenham at home, and then a few days later they've got Bayern Munich at home, difficult game, really difficult game, and then they've got Chelsea away. Like that's a tough 3 games for Arsenal.
Chelsea are shocking at home, like us. Rubbish at home.
Yeah,
rubbish at home. Fantastic away from home. Or were they fantastic?
From those 6 games, 6 games there, do you see Arsenal dropping points?
I mean, Bayern Munich, that's going to be an interesting one. See the barometer of where they are. Realistically, no. I think Chelsea is probably the only game that's potentially they could maybe struggle. It'd be a feisty game. Arsenal are at home to Bayern. Arsenal seem to be playing every game at home in the cup. Seem to be. Sean, should we do a couple of super chats, mate?
Yeah, 100%. Then we'll come back and look at Manchester City's fixtures. Right, where am I? Let's get rid of that for a second. Big up to you guys. Oh, please do smash. There's 135 people here. Please do smash the like on this early stream. We got George, Super Cup Legends. Big up to you, George. Says, morning, Sean. Morning, Johnny. Big up to you, George. I hope you're okay, my man. Thank you very much indeed for the generous super chat. Dino, Houdini, doesn't matter what time of day or night, Dino is online and he's always supporting, and the super sticker train is always picking him up. Choo-choo to you. Choo-choo to you, Dino. I appreciate you very much, my man. Thank you very much. Hope you're okay, buddy. Hope you're okay. And Jim Jam Pookie, big up to you, Jim Jam Pookie, says Xavi actually would be better suited to playing deeper as a solution for now. He can be the first player to link from the back to attacking players. So that's a role that James Maddison played quite a lot last season, wasn't it? He would come deep in the playmaker role.
Yeah, well, he was having to because he couldn't get the ball. He was having to pick the ball up off the top. Yeah, I mean, look, it's... I think the season's young. We're a quarter of the way through the season. Things change, obviously. You know, we've still got 3 quarters left. But, you know, now we're starting to see form and players and shape. But you can see how affected Spurs are by the injuries. I don't believe we saw how affected Man City were when they got affected by the injuries, losing Rodri. They fell off a cliff. We saw how Liverpool were affected by having injuries at the back. To their defenders, I don't see Arsenal having any such problem because even with 5, 6, 7, 8 injuries, they've still got a ridiculous squad. And that's not even including the Skellys, Nwanis and Dowmans and the likes that are still coming through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary how much strength they put together. You know, if they don't win the league this year, then...
Oh, mate, if they don't win it, mate, this will be the worst. This will be the biggest embarrassment this year if they don't win it.
There's zero excuses. They've got everything that they wanted. They spent a fortune. They've got triple depth in every position. And if they don't win it from here, from this position with a 5-point lead, then they are the biggest bottle jobs in the game, you know?
They are.
And I think you probably then have to say, Arteta, you've had long enough and enough money spent, right? And there's something else that's missing, and obviously you're responsible for that side of it. So, but listen, long way to go. I look at Arsenal right now and think there's just so much. They haven't got that many injuries. They've got a couple of injuries. I see the journalists out there writing that Arsenal have got this horrendous injury crisis, and I'm like, they've got 3 players out. Take a look at Tottenham. No one's talking about that at Tottenham. You know,
players out. And they've got another 3 players for each of those positions. It's embarrassing. There are 2 players that everyone's trying to sign out. They're young kids at the moment. One of them is Lassine Megan Pave, a 15-year-old who, like Man United are after, Barcelona, Arsenal. He scored 15 goals and 12 assists in 24 games for Montpellier's under-17s. But the big one is what's his name now? Hang on, I have to find his name now. Shit. He's the French boy.
Oh yeah, Agumi or something. No,
Uardi.
Uardi, that's it. Yeah, he's 17.
The little midfielder. There isn't a single club in Europe, including Spurs, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Barcelona, Real Madrid, who aren't after this kid. He's meant to be the next massive superstar. He literally just turned 18. I reckon someone's going to go big for him in January. I think Lille won't be able to resist the money on hand. Do you know who Liverpool are after, mate? Who's the player that I always mention at Fulham that I really like? The striker.
The striker at Fulham?
Yeah. The winger striker, the attacker. My mate Kev.
Oh, Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Typical Brazilian name.
Yeah,
apparently, Liverpool chief scouts and Man United's chief scouts were all at the game on Saturday at Fulham to watch Brazilian winger Kevin. And he's a major target. 35 million?
Yeah.
He's exciting. He's really exciting. Yeah. Well, his chief scout was there.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I to be honest, mate, I'm not. He looks like a good player, but there's players out there that if Liverpool are looking for a left winger / strike, left wing forward, whatever you want to call it, then I'd be very surprised if it was Kevin. To be honest, I think they've got their eye on a bigger prize. I think they'll wait until the summer and they'll go and get Jarrod Bowen on the cheap from West Ham if they get relegated.
Well, after yesterday's result, who predicted that? A 3-1 win out of nowhere?
Yeah, bookies made a lot of money yesterday on that one, didn't they?
Oh my God, Nuno Espirito Santo, right? I mean, honestly, yeah, as he goes above Nottingham Forest.
Have you seen Will Still has been sacked?
Yeah,
as manager of Southampton.
Hey.
They currently sit 21st in the Championship table, having won just 2 of their first 13 games. Shocking. And what he was a really highly touted manager out of France. Was he at Lens? I think it was at Lens, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, he's been through it all. But here's a scenario. Can you see a scenario where Gary O'Neill goes back to Wolves and Russell Martin goes back to Southampton? I did predict Pereira would get sacked, and I predicted 2-0 and a sacking for Pereira. So I'm going to predict Gary O'Neill and Russell Martin to go back.
Okay,
maybe that's a double. That's a bit stretching it, He had a great reputation, a really good reputation. Will Still, has it been sullied? We shall see.
I really liked him. I saw him doing a game last season. He was in I think it was Monday Night Football or Super Sunday or whatever. He was in the studio with Jamie Carragher, and he broke down Tottenham's sort of tactics and how to play against Tottenham or whatever really, really well. And he was just really insightful, really interesting to listen to. So there's obviously a talent there, but horses for courses, mate. So maybe just someone so young coming into a team like Southampton, maybe he doesn't have the respect. Talking about respect, mate. Have you? So this Jed Spence and Mickey van der Ven thing.
Yeah.
You have to question, like, is there something like? It's one thing to be angry. It's one thing for Thomas Frank to sit there and say, "Yeah, look, everyone's frustrated." But it was disrespectful, wasn't it? It was disrespectful to Thomas Frank to sit there and to be completely ignored. And you have to extrapolate that out and say, like, if you don't listen to your manager when they tell you to do something, are they buying in? Like,
no, I'm not
into isolation. But could you also, like, Are the players saying this football is fucking fossil football? It's not good enough.
No. Pissed off. He was pissed off that they lost. It's the wrong way to behave. I think it's more disrespectful to the fans, if I'm brutally honest. That's the issue I have. Fans have come. You've just performed shockingly, right? You and Mickey van der Ven and Simmons were the three that were involved in conceding the goal that lost us the game. You two of all should have been there applauding the fans. That's what I have an issue with, right? More so than...
I agree with you. I agree with you about that. Like, the fans need to be respected and appreciated. But I'm just wondering whether if the manager says jump and you don't say how high, is that a sign of disrespect and lack of respect for the manager?
I think we'll see very, very soon, because if we turn up at the next game and he's not playing, we may see that. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. If we see Kevin Danso and Cuti Romero
against Copenhagen
and Destiny, then maybe.
But Destiny, by the way, Destiny Udogie he wasn't caught on camera, but he walked off the pitch as well.
Yeah.
He's got away with that one because it wasn't caught on camera. Everyone's talking about Jed Spence and Mickey, but it was actually, there was three of them. Udogie did it as well. He was just five feet behind.
I received a message from someone talking about a comment that was in the chat by James DXB79, right? And they put, Paulinho is the issue. He's what Spain call a volante de contention. A ball-winning midfielder needs to be a lone six, and you need two progressive attacking midfielders either side.
I agree. That's why I don't rate Bentancur in the double pivot. I know it's a contentious issue, and I think Bentancur does well in the defensive side of the game with him next to him. But I think that, sure. Bentancur should be Paulinho should be a lone six, 100%.
So can I ask a question? If we had a Kulu and we had a Maddison fit, do you really believe that he would carry on playing this as he is now? Because I don't.
Okay, so let's fully fit squad then. Fully fit squad. Yeah. Tell me your 11 and your starting formation in 11 at home.
Maddison. I think Maddison starts with Paulinho and maybe Kulu. With Kudos on one side. Well, we still need a left-sided winger and we still need a striker, Sean.
So Xavi off the left, Kudos, Solanke, Maddison as your front four, for example. And then Kulu in the 8.
Kulu in the 8, Maddison in the 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't
know about that. I think that's
too. There's no creativity, mate. Right now, there's zero creativity. Zero. And there lies the problem for me. Big issue.
I think both of those two fit. Not that we're going to see that for a long time, but I think if those two are both to be fit in the team, and by the time Maddison is fit next season, let's say by the start of next season, if Thomas Frank's still there and the squad is as it is now, but everyone's fit, I don't think you can fit Solanke, Xavi, Deki, Maddison, and Kudos all in the same team. I think two of those are on the bench. Personally.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is okay. It's fine. It's nice to have depth, nice to have options, right? I think that you need a different 8. You need someone that's just, that's got the physicality, but that can also connect the dots more than we have. And I think that it's been an underappreciated gap in our. I think most people have thought that the striker is a problem, the left wing is a problem. But I think more and more people are now coming to the realization that there's a massive problem in our midfield.
I think Maddison's finished anyway. Don't like to say it, but I think Maddison is finished. The physicality of the league and, struggling to get in the ACL. I don't think he'll be the same player personally. Who do we think Mark Gahey, who's going to win the battle of Mark Gahey? We've seen Steve Parish said he'd rather lose Mark Gahey for nothing than sell him in January transfer window. Real Madrid desperate for him. Liverpool desperate for him. Man United making talk for him. Spurs laughably interested in him. Where does he go? I just think I can't see past Real Madrid, Sean.
If he goes in January, I think he goes to Liverpool. If he goes in the summer, he goes to Real Madrid.
Yeah, and to play with his mates. That's the big talking point. The other big talking point, we might as well bring it up. Harry Kane.
Just quickly before you do that, that's an interesting shout. João Gomez is a baller.
Yeah, I really like him. Yeah, I've always liked him. Andre's good as well.
Yeah, so João Gomez used to play in the 6.
Yeah,
and then he got promoted to the 8 because Andre came in to play in the 6, and like that's just the perfect sort of player that you need—a physical baller who can progress, who can drive, who's got a good passing range on him.
Still young enough to improve, mate. Still young enough to improve.
Good shout,
Harry Kane. Harry Kane has got a buyout of 65 million euros this summer. He says he wants to leave Bayern Munich in the summer. I said I can only see him going to Barcelona. I said that right from the off.
He said he wants to leave.
Well, apparently that's what the rumours are.
There's no point about that, though, is there?
And what I've heard from people who know is that Harry's very keen to get his kids back to education in the UK because their kids are coming to a certain age. Could you see him coming back to Spurs, Sean? It's possible.
Yeah. No, I don't think he goes anywhere else in the Premier League. I think he comes back to Tottenham if he comes back to the Premier League.
But, if we're in the Champions League, though,
yeah, 100%. But has he actually? Is there intimations? Because the last I heard, he was like, "No, I'm really happy at Bayern Munich," and
he's happy. Look, he's happy. I mean, listen, personally, I wouldn't want to come back to England.
Yeah, I want to get out. Harry, stay where you are, bro. I'll come and see you.
Stay where you are, mate. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. But look, I don't know. Personally, I think he's going to go to Barcelona if he goes anywhere. And look, he showed up Lewandowski at Bayern Munich. I saw a couple of Bayern Munich fans at the Spurs game a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying he's one of the best signings they've ever seen. He could go to Barcelona and play there till he's 40. I'll tell you, the way he just walk around the pitch banging goals in.
Yeah, I agree.
He'll be a sensation there. But look, I think, the rumor I heard is that he wanted to get his kids back into education. Whether or not he's pro England and he wants to get an English education, I don't know. I'm sure there's very good schools in Germany and in Spain as well. But we shall wait and see. But 65 million euro buyout clause is in his contract. I mean, no return on your money plus the wage. You're looking at about 120 million or plus.
Yeah. Look, I don't know. Hang on 1 second. The Harry Kane thing, I think Tottenham fans have to move on from.
Harry Kane will have to learn English.
Maybe if he went to Spain, mate, his Spanglish would be easier because of the kind of the lisp that he has. It kind of it all works out a little bit in Spanish, But listen, I don't think that the Harry Kane story we should just all forget about. It's one of those things where, I don't know, like you put some money in some in some like penny share, and you just kind of write it off and forget about it. And if in 5 years' time it turns into a $1 million investment, then great. But don't expect anything more than a waste of money. I don't think any Tottenham fan should ever expect Harry Kane back. Move on from that. But if it does happen, superb. But I think he's happy in Germany, mate. I think why would you want? I mean, unless he isn't happy for family reasons. But all of the recent sort of stories have been that he's more than settled there. His wife's happy there. His kids are happy there, settled or whatever. So, if as he's getting older, playing at that sort of pace in Germany and still scoring two goals a game is just it's just dream world stuff, isn't it? You get to play in the Champions League, you get to lift medals. You haven't got to work as hard as you do in the Premier League.
Yeah.
You're at the best team in Germany. You've got a realistic chance of maybe a Champions League. why on God's green earth would you want to come back to Tottenham unless getting that goal scoring record means that much? But for what it's worth, if Erling Haaland stays in the Premier League for 3 or 4 more years, mate, he'll have that record by the time Harry Kane gets back anyway, you know?
He reminds me of, what's it, Dolph Lundgren. Do you remember Dolph Lundgren? In Rocky.
Yeah, in Rocky, yeah. If he dies, he dies.
He dies. What was I going to say? Talking about, can you actually see Spurs? Spurs have been linked with Jared Branthwaite. Can't see that happening because Man United will probably go for him, and that will be a little bigger than the Spurs. Yep. But I can see us getting Scott McTominay, mate.
I can't see us getting Scott McTominay.
No?
Nah, he's a 6. Like, why do we need another player that like,
mate,
yes,
a lot of goals.
Yeah, late arrival into the box, but he's not good enough at passing, mate. He's not the passer that you need. If we're looking for someone that is a top passer that can connect the dots and be that kind of box to box player that can thread and progress and drive with the ball, he does a lot of it quite well, but he's not consistent enough with his passing for me. I don't think he's the guy. Really don't. Same with like someone like Morten Hulmand as well, right? Cracking player, but we went for Polinia. Yes, you could make the argument that Tottenham needs somebody else in case Pliny gets injured or to rotate and rest and all that stuff. You do need 2 comparable players. Look how vulnerable Manchester City are when they lose Rodri, etc. But right now, Tottenham have got enough weak spots in their first 11 to not be prioritising getting depth in their squad in positions where you're already strong, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, can't disagree. I just thought I'd throw a few spanners out there just to see if I could catch a few fish.
Yeah.
Gonna have to go.
But Tominay's not a 10, James. What are we doing here?
No, he's not a 10. He's not a 10. But he scores goals, mate. He scores goals. Listen, you look, you're not Italia League. It's Serie A player of the year if you're shit. That's it. I'm not having that. Right, I just don't see Spurs actually signing him. Well, I can see us signing him, but he wouldn't be my first choice of signing. But I think the fact that the Don is back, expect a Jonathan David, a Scott McTominay, or someone left field, or a Dusan Vlahovic, something like that. I expect to potentially come in January, Sean.
Yeah, one of those two. Dusan Vlahovic or Jonathan David would be interesting. Samu Agahawa, I've got my concerns, but I actually think that you make the argument that you could make the argument that Samu Agahawa is that profile of player that suits the kind of the trend in football, because he is big, strong, fast, athletic, and powerful. So, but I think he's rough around the edges, but he can certainly hold the ball up, connect the dots, and do the bits and pieces that we need and we lack him. But
the Cosa Nostra will probably make him an offer he can't refuse, McTominay.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll stay.
People are saying Scott McTominay is a 10.
Well, he does for Scotland, mate.
Does he?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always thought of Scott McTominay as an 8, a box-to-box player that basically just, I think he's inconsistent with his passing. I know he's a late arrival in the box. I've never seen him playing the 10, or I haven't noticed him playing in the 10.
You honestly think they won the title with Napoli, they won the title, and he won Serie A Player of the Year if he wasn't something special, mate.
He's a very good player. Yeah, he was very understated at Manchester United as well. Yeah. I completely agree with that.
If his name was Scott McTominay, like we said before.
Maybe Scott McTominay, yeah, people would be like, yeah, bring him in. Scottini, Tominini. Let's have a quick look, mate, before we round off. How much you've got to go soon, haven't you?
Yeah, I've literally got to go in like.
Okay. Well, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do the Champions League
tomorrow morning. Guys. Yeah. If you could hit the like button, please, and if you're here for the first time, please hit the subscribe button. Tell us where you're from and who you support. The channel's growing. Can't do it without you. And if you're listening on audio, please hit the like. Of the follow button, should I say, and leave us a review. That'd be great. We get more and more people on the audio, so it would be great if you could give us a review and a 5-star rating. That would be fantastic. Guys, look forward to tomorrow's show. There's loads there's loads to talk about, Sean. We'll do a catch up on the predictiones.
Yeah, just quickly, just super quickly. Any outstanding predictions? Let me just go through them. Just have a look. See
tonight there's one, isn't there?
Oh yeah, me and the chat. Dino, I think it was Houdini, got 3-1 for Man City, Bournemouth. So a couple of decent results. I don't know, Johnny. I'm not sure how you did this weekend. We'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow.
Well, I definitely got Danny Welbeck. He scored me 3 points.
No, he did. Let's find out. Guys, we'll leave it there. It's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him.
Bye.
Bye.